During the upcoming Seoul, Washington summit, the hottest topic on the discussion table will be North Korea. Our Kim Il-sung outlines the core issues to be highlighted by the two leaders when it comes to arguably the most important agenda that will dominate the talks.
South Korean President Moon Jae-in left for Washington Wednesday afternoon for his first summit talks with President Trump, his first summit meeting, in fact, with any world leader. With 2 nuclear tests and over 30 ballistic missile tests in just the last 18 months, North Korea's weapons capabilities are becoming more sophisticated by the day. Those ever more frequent provocations, plus the death of American student Otto Warmbier, who had been held prisoner in Pyongyang, mean North Korea will be the summit's #1 agenda. Both Seoul and Washington agree on the goal of completely dismantling North Korea's nuclear weapons, but there are differences on how to achieve it. President Moon has called for a 2-track approach. First, a freeze on North Korea's nuclear and missile programs, then complete dismantlement with the possibility of engagement and dialogue along the way.
President Moon wants to improve relations with North Korea while solving Pyongyang's nuclear weapons threat through engagement and pressure. Engagement could include providing humanitarian support for infants and young kids or restarting meetings of separated families.
This possibility of re-engagement with North Korea using a softer approach with somewhat ambiguous conditions has fueled concerns in Washington. President Trump is pushing for a more hawkish strategy under the policy of so-called maximum pressure and engagement.
The North Korean regime is causing tremendous problems, and it's something that has to be dealt with, and probably dealt with rapidly.
The Trump administration has made North Korea its top security priority, imposing new sanctions on the North Korean leadership and even warning that military action is on the table. It dispatched 2 U.S. aircraft carriers to the Korean peninsula in April, a move unseen in the last 20 years.
Trump is trying to increase pressure on North Korea for its repeated violations, not only of UN resolutions, but also U.S. law. So in the U.S., there are a lot of questions, a lot of concerns about President Moon's policy. Will he resurrect the unconditional engagement of Presidents Kim Dae-jung and Roh Moo-hyun? There are questions of, given his advocacy for accelerating wartime OPCON, questions about the THAAD deployment.
The conditions for Seoul to re-engage with Pyongyang, the deployment of THAAD, America's red line for a strike on Pyongyang. These are some issues the two leaders need to iron out.
It's important to find areas of similarity and narrow down the differences. At the same time, they need to reinforce the strong South Korea-US alliance and build mutual trust and rapport. One concern, I'll say, is Trump's unpredictability. If he raises some contentious points or says something out of the blue at the press conference or any number of other things, remember how the presidency and President Trump talks were overshadowed by the sudden U.S. strike in Syria.
Both capitals are going to be working to downplay perceptions of differences over North Korea. While there's still concerns, I think we are more confident that we'll have a successful summit and fewer policy fireworks.
The first summit between President Moon and President Trump comes after a months-long political vacuum in South Korea, filled by a new liberal administration, while the U.S. is pursuing an America First policy. The summit will give the two leaders a chance to reinforce their country's strong alliance and find common ground on their approach to North Korea for the next several years. Kim Il-sung, Arirang News.